when we're talking about applying some of these front-facing chokes like we mentioned before, but now we're standing and now we have more just regular clothes on. These very similarly imitate the gi application, this sturdy material here, and even if it's not sturdy material, it's not likely that even an open-facing shirt is going to rip that easily because we're looking at around the collar where it tends to be a little banded stronger like that. We'll talk about also if it's thinner material later about how we can apply that by simply bunching up or layering that material. If from here though, we're going to look at a couple different situations front facing where one might be preemptive, one might be more reactionary based on the idea of the conflict. Again, it should go without saying that we mentioned situational awareness already, and I'm going to mention that a few other times. I am taking inventory of the situation. I am taking inventory of what his posture, his body language, and his verbal cues are telling me as well. So all that should kind of go without saying that you want to avoid fights and de-escalate if at all possible. But what we're talking about right now is this is leading up to going hands-on, and I feel enough in danger to where maybe I need to be preemptive with something. If I feel like I need to be preemptive, then I can do something along the lines of I could punch here this way, I could palm strike if I'm a little more worried about punching. So whatever that is, I went here like this. Once I get him to cover, now moving in here like this, I can get a hold of the collar, or if the hood were available on this side here, then I could go ahead and grab that. Whichever it is here, we mentioned before, I don't want to just sit here and try to choke him because Jared's arms are still free, and once he stops covering, he's going to go to work trying to hit me, push me, grab at me. So once I get a hold of this collar here like this, I want to immediately try to off balance him some way. So what I'm going to do is open up the space on this side, pull him into that area this way, and then get a second side grip over here. I'm establishing the choke already like this, and this choke might be slow burning. It's probably not going to be something instantaneous right here, but again, like I want him to be preoccupied with this choke, but I don't want him to be cognizant enough to start using his hands for anything else. So while I'm holding this here like this, I can also throw my own knees this way, here, this, and then I can look to also transition to the ground or use any kind of like obstacles that are around. If there's a wall available, maybe I can run him into that wall, and that's going to give me the opportunity to disengage. If I feel like maybe I need to secure a position on the ground, I can always go inside for trips here like this and look to make throws and takedowns while still maintaining the choke, securing the choke on the floor. That's a little more preemptive where I'm striking my way into the grip. If I was a little late and my hands were up, of course, but Jared starts throwing here like this, and I had to cover immediately while I'm inside the reach of his arms and safely protecting myself from the maximum impact of his strikes, I can look to fish inside here while still maintaining a pretty decent cover, or to get the hoodie like this if the hood's available. Once that happens here, same idea. I want to go here, off balance him, get him down to the side this way so he can't as effectively strike me, and I still have the opportunities here to throw knees and to make trips or to run him into other obstacles in the area as well.
You can notice right there he's throwing the knee. Go ahead and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So right when he throws the knee, he's still in the back knee so that he doesn't lose his balance. Mm-hmm. Right? If he was to try to throw the front knee, then he's got to have the support so he has the ability to execute the choke at the same time.
Yeah, the only time I would throw that front knee is go here like this and possibly skip to where I've reset the base so the structure allows that knee to come up, and then we have this kind of skip knees like you might see in Muay Thai. So now if things got to a more intermediate range where we've already kind of gotten into this clinch type area. The clinch happens quite a bit in fights because once we pass through that maximum range where he's going to be most effectively able to hit me and knock me out, we're going to go into that clinch area because conflict tends to travel that way. If we establish this kind of over-under like this here and we're in this clinch, something that I can do is take the side he has the underhook on, which could be possibly strong for him, and shut it down through the use of grabbing that far side lapel over here like this. Once I make that grip, this hand can come up. If he has a hood, that's great, it's an extra handle. Even if not, I can just grab material, and now we're in a similar situation to what we talked about before. We're here like this, I can start to throw knees here, this way, making sure I have a good foundation, making the same trips and takedowns.
As he's executing that choke, his elbows are coming tied together, so it makes this tight motion.
So there's a couple factors at play here. Not only am I holding this and keeping his posture broken and looking for some other kind of transition from here, but I still do have the choke slowly burning and slowly cooking him over time. Now, the other application that we had as well is if I managed to get inside on this grip like we talked about before, and his posture was broken enough to allow this to happen, or he was coming forward enough to allow this to happen, I can come up to the back here and then work this into a bit of a loop choke / guillotine choke this way. And we mentioned before here like this, possibly I could finish from standing, But I have to take into consideration what's happening with this arm over here. Well, I think that most of the time, whenever there's a tight choke applied, most people will have the tendency to come up and try to protect their neck. They're not going to immediately start looking at what they can start to do with their hands as far as attacking you. But that does happen. So before that can happen and before he can process that, I would like to try to get this underhook on this side here. While I'm doing that, now this gives me good leverage over Jared to where I can maybe look for a takedown of my own. And the takedown we talked about before with this underhook and with this choke starting to be established is stepping 1 here, half circle, step back 2, and then this takedown to the floor. We talked about here where I'm still expanding my chest, pulling my elbow that's choking behind, and then pulling down on his shoulder to finish that top side guillotine choke from side control. The other consideration though is if I can't get the hook on that arm, once I get here, I've loop choked this way and his arm was tight against me like this, not allowing me to get inside, and I don't want to waste a lot of time pummeling and allow him to tackle me or pick me up. It is possible I might have to go to the guard if he tackles into me, but I would prefer, if at all possible, from here to hook his arm, maintain the wrap around his neck, and then sprawl back. I'll do this controlled for Jared's sake, here this way. Once we get to this position on the ground, now we're in this position where I have more options as far as how to finish the choke at this point. When I'm doing that sprawl, we're doing it slow and controlled for Jared's sake, but we want to make it pretty effective and pretty dynamic, sprawling the hips back and making sure that it really gets him broken down to the floor.